Thank you for watching our video. This show is sponsored by DreamStream. DreamStream is a unique platform where creators can monetize their video content. All creators rely on support from people like you. Join us on the DreamStream platform to support your favorite creator and view the episode without any adverts. Follow the link in the description for a how-to guide. DreamStream, a place where you can create yourself.
A warm welcome to another episode of The Real Queer Talk with myself, Tolo Hamdaung. Thank you for making time to join us. You know we love it when you keep checking what we bring for you. So today, it is another interesting episode. Actually, I'm a bit hyped up about this one. So we are all born with gifts, and some of us with more than one gift. But what matters the most is how do we use our gifts to impact human race in a positive way. And today, our guest is a multi-talented actor, but not just an actor. They are a musician, a writer, a filmmaker, a dancer, and also an entrepreneur. Niza Jay, who is also a strong advocate for gender equality and empowerment, using various platforms to drive awareness and also positive change. Niza, thank you for being here.
Is that me?
That's you.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.
It's such a pleasure.
Such a pleasure.
We appreciate that you made time to come to have a chat with us. Hey?
Of course.
So we know Niza Jay, but you actually have 4 names.
Oh my God, 5. Only
5?
Only 4 could fit in the
Oh my
ID.
word. Oh my word.
Only
Okay.
4 could fit in the ID, but it's 5
Yeah.
names. Yeah. Do you want me to tell you?
What are your names?
Ndiziphiwe, izicelo, ziviwe, azamkela, amaking. So it's a sentence.
It sounds like I was about
It's a
to say
sentence.
that. There's a
It's
story
sentence.
behind
Yes.
that.
So my parents were house hunting, and then they heard someone calling their kid Niz, and they're like, "What does that name mean?"
Yeah.
And so they found out that each of the letters meant something, but it was a sentence. And so my dad was like, "Okay, I like the concept, but
Yeah.
I'll give it my own thing." And so so it means I've been given what I've asked for, I've received it, and I'm thankful for it. And then Amaking is like my clan name.
Yeah.
So it basically is he's speaking on behalf of the clan and saying we've received what we've asked for, we've gotten it, and we're thankful for it as the clan.
That's so beautiful.
Period. Yes, it is. Thank you.
Doesn't it make you special though?
I mean, I think
Like feel special.
it does, but I think even without the name, I'm still the special child at home. Like I was at home like this past weekend, and I was like, guys, I'll always be the special child in this family. I'm treated so differently from everyone else. Yeah. It's beautiful. I love the name, and every time people ask about it, I'm like, yeah, it's me. I'm the girl, you know. Because you know, in entertainment, people come up with, they give themselves names and stuff and everything. And I'm always so proud that when people ask the meaning behind my quote-unquote professional name, it still is tied to who I am. Because at home, people call me Niza. Like, I mean, that is my childhood nickname.
Yeah.
But Niza is the name that people use. Okay.
Amazing stuff. So I always ask pronouns, right? So I get it right.
Okay.
Take us through that one.
My answer to this question, I feel like, is always controversial because my pronouns strictly are he, his, right?
Okay.
But if it's you and me and we understand one another, you can call me girl, you can call me she, you can call me sis. I really don't
You
care.
don't mind. Yeah.
My man can only call me she because I'm his first lady.
Of course.
No, but it's I think strictly quote unquote he, right? Because I've taken time to understand. I'm like, oh no, that's where I'm good.
Yeah.
But I definitely love being referred to as a she, as a girl, and I don't mind it at all. At all.
You had an instance where you were introduced and the lady said, "Is it a boy? I thought it's a girl."
How do you know about that? Oh my God. Do you want the story? Okay. So I was in LA doing the Oscars campaign for Ingleba.
Yeah.
And I walked in, obviously I had long braids and I was wearing a flowing shirt and I was in heels. And so I walk in, so people see me walking and they're like, oh, there's a lady, you
Yeah.
know. And so then John, the director, is talking, you know, that, oh, one of our cast members, Niza, is a proud Xhosa man, dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun. And it's here, Niza. And so he points to me, and then this lady, Maggie, she's like, it's a man. And I didn't even hear it. Like one of the producers, Kate, told me, and she's like, that. I'm like, you're lying. I can't. She's like, it's a man. I'm like, yeah. That's. I
But-
can't believe you. How did you? Tolo.
But also that's how good you look, right?
Amen.
With braids
Period.
as well,
Yes.
eh?
I won't lie. My voice and my
Yeah.
body, the way my body is structured, and the way I look and the way
Yeah.
I carry myself, for good and bad reasons, and not bad like dangerous.
Yeah.
But sometimes like it attracts men who think I'm a girl, you know, and like only later they're like, oh, flip, sorry, sorry.
Okay, let's talk about that. How do you deal with those situations? Because for me, it's so tricky. It gets really tricky, and many a times I get so frightened by that. How do you manage that?
Most times they know, so they know what they're doing. Most times, but sometimes they don't, and also I can be very standoffish. Like my balance between my feminine and masculine is there. I think it's in
Yeah.
a good place. So when I feel that you're coming at me the wrong way, I can easily be like, can I help you? Can I assist you? And that wards them off. And they're like,
Yeah.
why are you dressed like this? And I'm like, because I want to. It's so funny you say that, because I was at home, again, like I was saying, and I was wearing something, and because it got cold, and so I put on a jacket on top of it, and it
Yeah.
looked like I had a skirt. And so this guy says to me, it's like a family friend, but he doesn't know me. He's just seeing me for the first time.
Okay.
And so he goes, why are you wearing a skirt? I'm like, why do you want to me, you know? And my uncle's like, no, stop, don't, calm down, you know? So I can defend myself in that way. And I think I've got, it's funny, in a different conversation, I always say that I identify as a very domineering, feminine, whatever else. Do you know what I mean? And so I think when those misunderstandings happen, I put on that, don't mess with me because I can deal with you. No.
Do you feel like we are generally highly guarded because of
Guarded
how
or
society?
us, we like guarded towards people coming towards us and
Yeah.
like approaching us.
Yeah.
I think so. I definitely think so. But also again, because I'm saying most of the time, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right. So, and also how they vocalize it and the things they say. Like I've been telling the story recently in the last few weeks, but I was at an event, the event I met you at.
Yeah.
And someone says to me during the people, like he didn't take me off into a corner.
Yeah.
He comes to me and is like, when I got in uyaphazamisa. One day, zakubamba. I'm like,
What?
what? I'm like, what the hell?
Just
you
like
know?
that.
But I was inebriated, so it was funny. I was like, ha 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 ha. But
Yeah.
I'm definitely aware. I think also because of where we are in time, 2023,
Yeah.
a lot of men want to cross those boundaries, right? So whereas before I'd be totally terrified, like
Yeah.
because I was saying this also to someone, because you'll see that there's been a very clear femification of what's out there for queer people, right? Because before it was, I just dress however I dress, but now there's a
Yeah.
very clear femme aesthetic, right? And I was saying to someone, I've been doing that honey since Fantuka up,
Yeah.
you know, so I am not fazed by how other people look because
Yeah.
I have such a unique quote unquote brand of what that is, right? And so when those men come, when it started, I was terrified because okay, no one else is dressed like me, so they probably are confused, they don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
But in the power that I found in it and it's propelling my career and my life and my soul forward, I'm not terrified. I'm not scared. I'm not guarded. It is who I'm meant to be. And I believe that I reveal the truth in people. Because if you see this nice ass and you're like, I want it.
That is a definite. That is a definite. So now you find that in the community, you'll have some of us discriminating each other in a sense that when you are feminine, you're more like you'll get, excluded or looked at in a certain way or addressed in a certain way because you're supposed to be straight acting. What's your take on that?
You're touching me in my studio. Look, I have such a huge issue with the larger community being of the belief that we must push forward this agenda that gays aren't femme, right? And that femme gays aren't bottoms, and that femme bottoms and masculine tops are not a dynamic that exists. I'm like, hold on, wait. If all the other dynamics can exist, why can't this one?
Yeah.
That's my issue with it. Is that okay, everything else seemingly is represented and everyone is pushing for it. But what's underlying that is that there's this message that's seemingly like, no, this one, Yona, this avenue, it's not on.
Yeah.
Everything else is on. You can be a femme top, you can be a masked versus a masked bottom. Just don't be a femme bottom and don't be in a relationship with a masked top.
Yeah.
Truth be told, we are here as a community because of quote unquote femme bottoms. And so I'm just like, don't anger me. Don't do it, But that's how I feel about it. I feel like we all have a right to exist.
Yeah.
But I'm noticing and I'm rising up against, and that's why I stand so firmly in being who I am, because I haven't been told by anyone. And also I've explored so many avenues and come back to this.
Yeah.
So if I am like this, I know that there's other people like me as well, and those people deserve a voice and they deserve representation as much as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. And talking about, a bottom top and all of that, other people are quite private. They're not open, but you're quite frank with your sexuality. Why do you feel that for you it's important that you can express yourself without really holding back?
I think that's who I am. It's funny because I'm so, like, I've never dated anyone publicly. I've never been out that I'm seeing this person or whatnot.
So you wouldn't post your person
never.
and stuff?
Never. I mean, I'm seeing someone right now. But
Yeah.
That's my business, But I again, representation. Because when I was growing up, there was no one like me on platforms like this and different platforms, because what I've vocalized in many platforms. Like, I've written about it, I've spoken about it, so that someone who's coming up from where I'm from sees me and they're like, I'm okay. They don't have to reimagine themselves or reconfigure themselves to be something that they're not, because they aren't seeing themselves being represented. So truthfully, that's where it comes from, because I'm just like, who am I hiding it for? There's already so many things about my life that I don't put out. This one, especially understanding my purpose in life, being a light for people who are like myself, who come from the same background that I come from. This specific part, because it's shrouded in so much shame, right? Because of our homophobic history and context as a country, as a nation, as a world, as a universe, right? I have to put it out, so that someone else can see themselves in me and say, you know what, I will also put it out, so that the next generation doesn't feel obligated to be something that they're not.
I love it because I think it also removes the barriers that are there for also the entire society to understand how different we are, right?
Yeah.
And talking about writing, Unleashing the Power of Excellence, a journey of identity and aspiration, is one of the pieces that you have put out recently, and it has been published by the South African. Can you give us an overview of what it is for people that have not read it, and also what inspired the piece?
So it's basically, I'll start with the last part. What inspired it was, I was reckoning with myself and a lot of the decisions that I make, and my obsession with being excellent, and tracing it back and being like, okay, I don't do anything, I don't half do anything. Like, my team knows I am deeply neurotic, I'm deeply specific, I'm deeply like, I want A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? And I want things to go well. And I think it may have had some, I'm not sure, but I think it may have had something to do with some award nomination and me not getting nominated. And I was like, why am I so about excelling and I then thought about other people who I knew who also seemingly had that same drive
Yeah.
to excel. And that's then how I started writing this piece that was about how we as queer people use excellence and use success and use the things that we accumulate to um, 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 rise above the oppression and the stigma and the maligning that
Yeah.
comes with being queer, right? Because if you're successful, at least no one can tell you anything because I'll buy you and your mother.
Yeah.
If you're smart, you know, if you're smart, I can talk circles around you and everything. That way, you can't come for me because at least I've got this.
Yeah.
You'll try to come for me for being gay, but then I will
And,
come
and
at
it's
you.
interesting that generally society will respect you when you've made it, when you're well off, but when you're not, you stubborn less.
100. So it came from that. And also a few years ago, a friend of mine was having this conversation, was talking about how when he entered white spaces, they didn't feel threatened, right? Because he was smart and feminine presenting. So as much as they see his blackness, but what overrides that is the intelligence and the queerness. And so that makes him safe.
Yeah.
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 It's tough out there.
It's very
tough out
tough.
there. And it's for me, it's exciting when I hear somebody that would express how they believe in excellence. What gives you the drive? Why do you find yourself wanting to give the best version of you? And I love the fact that also your team understands that because they're an extension of you, right? And many times it's also seen as being or interpreted as being bossy, but at the core of it is you wanting to bring out the best, especially as an artist, because I mean, there's so much competition out there. Yeah.
Beyonce. Number one, Beyonce. No, but genuinely, it's the people I look up to, right? And it's my idea of success. And also, I think it really, I do struggle with conformity. And my manager was having this conversation. It was so funny and like it was like an aha moment.
Yeah.
Because he was looking, we were somewhere, driving somewhere, and we saw houses like, oh, there's a nice house. I'm like, my God, don't ever put me in a cluster house ever. And because I tried, I'm like, no, I want space and everything. He's like, no, that's not why you just don't like conformity. I'm like, that's true, you know. So I think it is that, and I look up to people who excel, truly excel, and not only excel for 1, 2, 3 years, but people who have excelled and continue to excel for long periods of time.
Yeah.
And they do that through excellence and through pursuing excellence in whatever it is that they do. Now, I don't mean they pursue perfection.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
they pursue excellence. Is that in your attempt, in your effort, you've done the best
That's
that
so
you can do.
profound,
You know,
yeah.
you've done the best that you can do. And I think it really also just has to do with where I find myself in the industry and where things are now, right? And seeing this age that we live in of instant viral, but also walking the path that I'm walking relatively alone.
Yeah.
You know, I, I, in, with all humility, I don't think there's another openly out queer femme presenting black dark skinned Xhosa from a not so privileged background actor who is working in the way that I'm working, who is getting the opportunities that I'm getting, who is treated the way that I'm treated,
Yeah.
right? Because even though I may not have the largest following, but I've discerned from the things that people say about me that I'm regarded a certain way, right? And so I have to then treat myself a certain way because I understand that yes, I may not be quote unquote popping like everyone else is popping, but again, I'm playing the long game. I'm playing the game of excellence. Because I was having this conversation with someone who I look up to a lot, and I was saying to him, that's what I'm trying to figure out. How not to be cool and relevant for 10 years or 20 years or 30 years or 40 years, but how do you do it for 50, 60? How do you do that? How do you do that?
And I think for me, because I've
I'm on my feet, the underdog, and I won't be beat. Turn the lights up now, welcome to the show. I ain't never
Are you a musician?
I know. My eyes on the prize until I die. I'm gonna rise like
The Dream Stream Music Studio is now available on Sundays for only 295 rands per hour.
we work for a fall in line. We gon' give it our all until the end, until the end of time.
It includes a 12-channel desk, a variety of mics and cables, electronic drum kit, and a laptop for recording. Terms and conditions apply and booking is essential. Contact studio at dreamstream.co.za for a site visit.
The first time I saw you, it was on Inleva, The Wound. And I followed your work since then. And I found that your work has depth, right? And I think that that's what brings the difference from people that are popping and people that will stay there for quite some time, you know, because depth brings longevity, you know, with it. And talking about doing the work that identifies with who you are, you know, that also interests me in that you've been able to get roles, particularly in your acting career, that don't require you to really be an opposite of who you truly are. And I think, you know, in a working hard, you're one of the probably very few queer people that have been able to get into the industry and get those roles and apologies and actually really deliver on them. Do you feel privileged to have that? Do you feel also perhaps that brings a certain level of responsibility in terms of the expectations from the queer community?
It's so funny you say that because young, immature me always thought I will prove my acting when I play a straight character and. But I think, again, discovering purpose, and I will always credit my manager for this, who was like, okay, fine, so you want to do A, B, C, D, F, G, but once you've done all of that, what do you want to leave behind in this world? And I think that's what set me on the path towards discovering purpose, right?
Yeah.
And that's also what made me trust where I am and what's happening in my life. And also, I do have to credit actors like Billy Porter, you know, who stepped into a queer role that was very specific and just took it. I'm like, okay, so why do I feel that I have to play a straight character to prove that I can act, right? Because I'm always advocating for my community and whatnot. So we have been so underrepresented. If I don't represent us, who will? Knowing and trusting my gift and knowing that I can actually do this.
Yeah.
I can, if out of wonke lo muntu owenzayo, I know I'm one of those who can actually do this.
Yeah.
If you ask me to play a straight character, I could, right? And I've tried and whatever, and I've done different things in my career, but it is purpose, and it is doing. It's beyond me.
Yeah.
It's larger than me, you know, and I've found so much fulfillment. Like after the NAFTA, I was like, oh my God, I won this for playing a femme black boy from where I come from. Are you kidding?
That's huge.
Stop, you
That's
know.
huge.
But there is pressure. Because there have been certain roles that I've done and people are like, oh no, he can't act. I'm like, excuse me, do you know who the hell you're talking about? But I think that also speaks to, again, the internalized homophobia that exists in our community, where if you see someone portraying part of the community that you don't like and doing it authentically, you'll just write them off as not being able to act, right? Because oh, he's that femme gay that I don't like from down the street. But that femme gay is real. That person exists. That person deserves representation.
And also, you know, as you're speaking now, I'm thinking back that in many roles, in many gay roles, to be particular, you'd find that straight people will act them, and they are they're done too much. I'm lacking the right way to say it, but they're done too much.
They're
That
overdone.
they're overdone,
There's no
right?
specificity.
Yeah,
There's
but
no understanding.
but
of the
you
identity.
come in and bring the realness to it, the authenticity to it. You know, being on House of Zwide and having another queer person that you were on set with. You know, how was that different from other roles that you played?
First of all, Kaya Dladla is one of the most beautiful people I've ever met, like internally and
That I
externally.
agree with you 100%.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, so I had one of the most divine human experiences working with Kaya, beyond just a professional experience.
Yeah.
But also, generally, Kaya showed me how to have fun on set, but also how to take yourself seriously and be taken seriously. Kaya taught me a lot of things about the industry, finances, business, body image, relationships. It, like, in the few weeks that we worked together. And I think what I always find, even now in this production that I'm in, a theater production, people always want to, it's such a, again, it speaks to such a misogynistic and misogynoristic part of our society. People will always want to pit feminine beings against one another, because I went in there not knowing what to get, right? But you could tell that from certain people want to stir up ish. But I will fully admit that Kaya was like, that's not happening.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take this little girl under my wing and she's gonna have a good time here.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna create iconic moments. There's gonna be none of that. And every time that I see Kaya, it is still that same energy. So working with him on that set was just so, oh my God, mind blowing. Like that, and it was so different because it was that. And I think apart from the resume, I think it was for that experience, and it also allowed me to open myself up to younger queer actors when I work with them, and just be generous with my spirit and who I am and the good parts of myself.
Amazing. Going back to excellence, right? You've got nominated for the SAFTAs.
No, I didn't. Well, I've been nominated for a SAFTA for England in 2018.
Yes.
But I didn't get nominated this year.
Okay. But that counts because it's a recognition.
Yeah.
And I mean, Ingaba was like the first
Thing
right?
ever I did. Yep.
Right, yeah. But also now you've won the National Film and TV Awards, Best Supporting Actor, right? When you look back, you know, from when you started and getting where you are now, what does it mean to you?
It's an affirmation of, again, living a life of purpose and not having selfish motives, and also a huge reminder of the importance of community, true community. Again, going back to what I said about numbers and popping and everything, that's not what carries you. What carries you is genuine support from real people. Real people who aren't flaky, real people who have followed you and will continue following you and will rise up with you and go down with you. So that award was that, because the NAFTAs were fan voted, right? And so out of everyone in that category, I'm the least followed, Jay. I don't, you know, but to win, because I know the efforts I made, you know, I got the school that I shot at, Hudson Park. I was like, hey guys, if you feel like voting, go ahead and vote. I got my high school, and that was an affirmation to me that community, remember community all the time. But also, if I didn't understand my purpose, I wouldn't even connect myself to that place, because I'd be like, oh no honey, I've traveled, I'm this, I don't even associate with that anymore. But I had to remember, this is where I come from, this is the school I went to, this and that. So that award really, I was so shocked. Oh my God, I was so shocked. I was saying, oh my, like, even my speech was bad, and I always like pride myself in like being well spoken. My speech was so bad. Like I didn't thank my team, I didn't thank my family. I'm like, and so with the interviews, they're like, how do you feel? I'm like, So it really was humbling, and it really was an affirmation that the path I've taken from where I started, having started this career with very selfish and egotistical motives, unfortunately having people who've intervened in my life and steered my life in a different direction, it was an affirmation to say that was right.
Yeah.
It was good for you to come down this way and not go the other way.
And where did it start, the acting?
At home, I come from a very dramatic family. A very, very dramatic family. Like, and it's fresh in my mind because I was just at home now.
Yeah.
Come from a very dramatic family. But the honing and the shaping of it, I think I will always shout her out. There's a teacher called Loida Senyonga, who was my preschool teacher. She had a little preschool in a orange caravan at the back of a butchery in Mthatha, where I'm from. And because I was always complaining and wanting to go to school, and my older brother went to school, my mom took me there.
Yeah.
And at age 2.5. And that lady was just like, this one, he's got it. So she made me sing, she made me act, she made me public speaking, speeches, narrate short stories and everything.
You've
And I
always
think,
been a star.
Hi, man. You said it now, man. You know? So she saw it, and I don't think without her, I would have trusted it, because I'm also, again, with all humility, very smart and very intelligent. And so in high school, I was in a very commercial stream while doing also artistic things, and I excelled in that as well. It's funny because my aunt was saying it now, and after the award, and she's like, I was like, oh my God, imagine what the grandparents would be saying, my granddad and his sister, who were like my hugest cheerleaders. And she's like, yeah, imagine, hey, and they wanted you to be an accountant and everything. I could have very well been an accountant, but I think little seeds like Teacher Loida, like my family, like Miss Myberg from TPS, who cast me as Mowgli in the Jungle Book, Miss Ndwana, who cast me in Umoja, Miss Krina, who put me in the choir, Miss Spellman, who allowed me to take control of the choir and be a little bit of a bully in the choir, you know, Wits, my lecturers, Gerard Bester, those little things have led to here. I can't pinpoint it to one thing, but the beginning was my family and faith preschool and Teacher Loida.
So when you took it professionally, did you?
Need a photo studio? The Dreamstream Photo Studio includes a 2.7-meter PVC backdrop in black and white and is available for only 115 rands per hour. You can also rent a Canon R6 and lights. All rentals are for studio use only. Terms and conditions apply. Contact studio at dreamstream.co.za.
Thank you, Ben, for coming out tonight. My name is Son of Augustine. Let's go.
Did you not, and this is what I wondered a lot, right? That did you not anticipate that you could possibly not get work because of, you know, that you are queer? Because that's what we see in many spaces.
I didn't think of it when I applied, right? Because I believe in myself. I believe in this girl, okay? So when I finished high school having done a commercial stream. I was always doing well. There was never any questions around that. So there was that avenue there for me in life. But then I was like, I'm going to Wits. I'm going to either study drama or music, and I'm not going to apply anywhere else. And I applied there, and confidence was like, nah, you're going to do it. But in my second year, because of the way things work in that university, that place, I felt frustrated, and I wanted to switch careers. I wanted to go into fashion, and I wanted to go into like styling and all of that stuff. But then Ingaba came along, and that continued the confidence, whatever. But I think once I was in it, then I was like, oh shit, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's not what I thought it was going to be. But I came in making very conscious decision that I'm going to be out.
Yeah.
Now I want to be myself. And now turn and ask me about my sexuality. You must know that this is what you're dealing with. But also, again, because I trust my gift so much, I think I blindly went into it, and only once I was in it, those things started happening. Where it's like, oh, the only reason why roles are few and far between is because you're out. You do
Yeah.
realize it's not because of your gift or your talent, and it's not because of your personality. Because I've got a very outgoing personality, and people are very shocked when they encounter me. They're like, "Why don't you do TikTok?" And what I'm like, "No, I'm an experience. You have to experience me, you know." But also, I think pacing myself. There will come a time where I have to give all of that. But right now, I'm very much about putting my gifts forward, and that is what has allowed me to relatively overcome
Yeah.
the limitations that come with being an out queer actor.
Let's talk a little bit about Ingleba. I believe it's a debut big screen work.
Debut anything.
Yeah.
Debut anything.
So when you get in and you get on a controversial movie,
Story of my life. Story of my life. I didn't think it was gonna go that way, honestly. I just thought it was gonna be a film. People are gonna be like, "Oh, there's a film. It's there. It talks about this." Maybe some people will be upset, but whoop, I still have trauma from that experience.
I can imagine.
I have a lot of trauma from that experience. Just how things went, not just the reception and reaction from people, but the effects that it had on my career and my life and where I was placed and where I had to go. I'm like, that experience, I think, was my first lesson in surrender and in not being in control of my life. Because like I said, I'm neurotic and I like controlling things. But that one was just
but
like,
what kind of effects are you
so I mean,
talking about?
my movements were restricted, right? I couldn't go home to see my family because the Eastern Cape wasn't a safe place to be. I had to leave the country, not prepared to leave the country in any way, not mentally, not physically, not financially, at all, you know. Only recently did I find out that, for instance, my dad also struggled with that experience because he would tell people, "Oh, my son has done this," and then people turn around and like, "Oh, he did," you know. So it threw me for a loop, man. It threw me for a loop because I was just expecting good times and fun, and that's how it started, right? It started, and then there was like little rumblings, and I'm like, who cares about what people at home are saying, honey? I'm in Sundance, I'm in LA, I'm competing for an Oscar. What are you saying? And then it comes out, and it's literally pandemonium, like being pulled from cinemas, security threats, rated as porn, I'm like, what is going on? You know, I didn't expect it to be what it was. I expected it to be big. It still is. It's the most awarded South African film of all time. But it all the controversy and all the backlash really just scarred me deeply, and it made me feel very rejected.
How were you able to deal with it to get to where you are now? Because you could have easily decided to, like, you know what, I'm leaving this. It's not gonna be. I mean, threatened to safety.
I think fate and faith and going through it and being like, okay, this is where I'm at right now. You know, I've never told this, but after that experience, I had to go to LA and yeah, I'm telling everyone I'm going to LA. Get to LA, there's no work. I literally had to clean people's houses and storerooms and everything to do that. And I think that allowed me to figure out what it is I truly wanted. Like in those moments, I was like, nah, but still, this is what I'm gonna do, you know. And also, it reminded me of who I truly am. That movie wasn't gonna define me, you know, because I always say to people, you are aware that I could be that person at a bar in Braamfontein saying, yeah, me, I was in England, and never having done anything thereafter. But because I was honest about myself and the work that I wanted to do, I think the universe started sending me those things. But also, I had to go through a deep personal journey to get to where I am. It's not just professional moves and strategy. I had to let go of a lot of things personally. I had to heal from a lot of things. And that experience revealed to me that I needed to do those things. I needed to shed certain things. I needed to unlearn and undo parts of myself and let go of who I thought I was and who I thought I was going to be, and actually remind myself who I truly wanted to be. And everything that you're seeing now is because I had that clicking moment that said, remember, this is who you want to be. So regardless of what this movie has done for you or what it could have done, or this is where you are now, this is where you want to be. So every decision that you make has to take you to where you want to be.
So part of the reasons that was used as to push it out was cultural issues. How did that affect your family? I mean, in the Eastern Cape, where they're deeply rooted in culture.
Yeah. Honestly, my family, I come from a wild family. They did not care. They just cared about the fact that I was on TV and that like I was doing well. Honestly, I think only later did I find out that like some of my brothers and like, some of my cousins, male cousins, were contesting certain things that like, oh, but he's not, because at the time I wasn't circumcised, subsequently have done it. Had a great ceremony last year, good times. But only late did I find those things out, right? Like I had no idea, because again, my family leads with love first. Like you can do the most scandalous thing in my family and it's fine, you know? But that's what they led with at the time.
Yeah.
And apart from what the younger men in my family were saying, I have not heard anything about, oh, listen, my family's always supported me. I'm so fortunate for that. I come from a very loving and supportive family. And funny you asked me, because again, I was at home and one of like my family friends knew me, but didn't realize it was me. And so they were telling him certain things, like, no, wait a minute, man, this is, oh my God. And he mentioned the film with so much pride. Like he didn't mention it with, when are you the one who did that, you know? So I think kismet and divinity and being who I am, coming from the family that I come from, I didn't have to deal with any of those things directly.
Sure. Let's move into music.
My baby, my everything. Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your music. Do you write your own stuff? What genre do you do? And why music?
I've always, again, going back to teacher Loida, when she got me into her school, I was doing everything. I was acting, singing. My mom always says, I actually thought you were going to sing first, like before acting. So I've always sung. I wake up in the morning and I sing. It's because I'm doing a production now with opera singers, right? And I'm the MC narrator. So I don't have to sing. I rap-ish because it's part of the story.
Yeah.
And so not some type, but like since like day 2, I've been singing and they're like, oh my God. Oh my freaking word, you can freaking sing. Like today even I started a song and everyone followed, like, because that music is as in me as acting is, as writing is. And I think I also had to be in an okay place. I also had to trust my gift and trust my talent, because there have been people along the way who tried to tell me otherwise. Haters, you know yourselves. But yeah, and I also had to figure out how I wanted to present myself musically. So I write my own music, I compose my own music, I produce my demos, you know, to say this is how I want the song to sound.
Okay.
And then obviously I get like more experienced producers to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
And I will call my music pop, you know. I feel like pop gets a bad rep, but I'm a huge believer in creating messages and art that can touch as many people as possible. And I call it pop because I simplify a lot of things. And when I started, I was also of that, no, it must be complex, it must be blah. And again, great team. My manager was like, okay, so you're making music. Okay, this is what I want to do. I want to test audience for you and let them hear what they think. And just one guy said to me, so you need to simplify it. It's too complicated. You just need to simplify it. And in doing that, it took me in the direction that I wanted to go in. And also I can't remember who said this, but someone said a lot of artists are afraid of making hits because they know what it can do in your life. And I had to ask myself, are you afraid of making hits? I said, absolutely not. You know, and so that's what took me in that direction. But also, I've just taken a lot of time to get good and get to where I believe that I should present myself, because I respect musicians a lot. I respect artists a lot. Like I said, Beyonce, you know. So if Beyonce is my standard, then it means that I will also be very specific about what I put out.
Yeah. there's so much about you that I'd like us to talk about. I feel like now you'll have to make it a second turn, right? Because now we're running out of time. But as we close the discussions, I'd like us to talk about minimalism. You know, it has become a keen topic of interest, and you've also taken it forward.
Yeah.
From your perspective, what is the objective?
I think ultimately in everything is peace. Peace and being stress-free.
Yeah.
And like I always say to people, I don't support retail. Like I'll buy things from stores and whatever, but I don't support retail. And so when it comes to fashion, I wouldn't support retail because sometimes the things are so ghoulish and ghoulish and like so weird, and there's too many things going on. So I like it simple. And then music again, simplifying it, because that's what gives me peace. Some people are given peace by extravagant things, and that's the thing about minimalism. It's not a just clean lines. It's whatever satisfies you, doing that and doing that alone, and not doing anything else because it's there and it's available for you to do. So if you want to walk out every day in a ball gown, that's minimalism, right? Because you aren't walking out in a ball gown and then a jean and then you're just like, no, I like my ball gown, so that's it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Very, very interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what does the future look like for Niza Jay?
It looks like good decisions. It looks like meditation. It looks like prayer. It looks like journalism. Not journalism, journaling. It looks like seeing my man hopefully soon. Yeah, but currently I'm doing a show at the Market Theatre that's on from the 16th to the 19th, called Ngodi, the Vogue Opera, about Simon Ngodi. Basically narrates Simon's life through the medium of an opera and the medium of a Vogue ball.
Yeah.
So professionally, that's what I'm doing. Enye, wait and see, we'll swear.
Just have to keep checking.
Wait and see, we'll swear. Yeah, music, acting, writing, developing stories. I don't want to say content, because content is such a controversial word.
Yeah.
Developing stories, because we need stories
Because
to
you are
tell.
creative.
Amen.
Niza, thank you so much,
Tolu. I'm so
for a
honored.
wonderful chat.
Thank you so much.
As I say, there's much that I'd like us to talk about,
Yeah.
but really, we have to make a turn, because I know we're not done.
When I do the thing,
Yeah.
I won't say what thing,
Yeah.
but when I do that thing, I'll come back.
Perfect.
I'll come back.
Take you up on that one.
Thank you, Tulu. Thank you so much.
You've heard it. That's Niza Jay, multi-talented individual. And it has been such an inspiring conversation that we had with Niza. And as we close, myths and facts. So the myth today, LGBTQ people or persons are promiscuous. I think that is what is so out there in the society that we are. And it's actually not the case. Like any other individual, whether you're straight or you're not straight, if you decide that you want to be promiscuous, you will be. We have queer people that have wonderful long-term relationships where they are in monogamous relationships even, and they have chosen to do that. So it depends on the individual. We cannot put a blanket approach on that one. So that is how we're wrapping up today's episode, or this episode. Do get in touch with me and share what are your thoughts. I am Tolo_Mdung on all social media platforms. You're welcome to DM me. Otherwise, on my profiles, you can get my email. Get in touch. Let's talk. Let's have the conversation going. It is a goodbye until the next episode.